I'm going to read the first couple, and I just want to, just as a reminder, this may feel unlike any other time that you do the reading. We don't discuss anything. We just allow Holy Spirit to provide everything that's needed, just trusting that, just allowing ourselves to hear ourselves say these words to ourselves. I'll do a couple. Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is that I see nothing, and nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of sight. I must let it go by realizing that it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place. I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I have judged everything I look upon, and it is this and only this that I see. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality, because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them. Anna, you want to read a couple? Can you unmute? Oh, sorry, my bad. Does that help? Right.
Yeah. I do not understand anything I see. How could I understand what I see when I have judged it amiss? What I see is a projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it is not understandable. There is no sense in trying to understand it, but there is every reason to let it go and make room for what can be seen and understood and loved. I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. Is not this a better choice than the one I made before? These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I am trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I have made my thoughts to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything and to let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. I choose to have them be replaced by, by what they were intended to replace. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think, because I am constantly trying to justify my thoughts. I am constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I have misused everything I see by assigning this role to it. I have done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me and that I no longer want. I am willing to let it go. I am upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. It is impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I am upset, it is always because I have replaced reality with illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mine. I am always upset by nothing.
Thank you, sis. Robert, you want to read a few?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing. I hold the past against everything, everyone, and everything, making them my enemies. When I have forgiven myself and remember who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past, and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I've failed to see before. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see only my own thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. Let me understand that I am trying to use time against God. Let me learn to give the past away, realizing that in doing so, I am giving up nothing. I see nothing as it is now. If I see nothing as it is now, it can truly be said that I see nothing. I can see only what is now. The choice is not whether to see the past or the present. The choice is merely whether to see or not. What I have chosen to see has cost me vision. Now I would choose again that I may see. My thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts, yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist, and so they mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Would I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts?
I could hear you read one more. Could you read one more?
Can I do one more?
I would love it.
I would love to do one more.
Thank you.
My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. I'm trying not to laugh at that. Oh, that's, yeah. Reality is not insane. And I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see a real world if I look to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing.
Thank you, brother. And if you laugh, it's all good. You don't have to keep reading. You don't have to keep reading. Thank you.
No, that was just that. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that
that's
meaningless world.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, brother Doug.
I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. Insane thoughts are upsetting. They produce a world in which there is no order anywhere. Only chaos rules a world that represents chaotic thinking and chaos has no laws. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I'm grateful that this world is not real and that I need not see it unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no ground for trust. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. But such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality and have suffered from my belief in it. Now I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear because I am acknowledging that it does not exist. A meaningless world engenders fear. God did not create a meaningless world. How can a meaningless world exist if God did not create it? He's the source of all meaning, and everything that is real is in his mind. It is in my mind too, because he created it with me. Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts when the perfection of creation is my home? Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide. God did not create a meaningless world. My thoughts are images I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts and am not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. Yet God's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against him because it is not my will that they do so. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him. My thoughts are images that I have made.
Thank you, brother. Oh, I'll do a couple. Excuse me. I have no neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one, but thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I see arises from my thinking errors, so will the real world rise before my eyes as I let my errors be corrected. My thoughts cannot be neither true nor false. They must be one or the other. What I see shows me which they are. I see no neutral things. What I see witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist because life is thought. Let me look on the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change. And so I also know the world I see can change as well. I'll do one more. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. If I have no private thoughts, I cannot see a private world. Even the mad idea of separation had to be shared before it could form the basis of the world I see. Yet, that sharing was a sharing of nothing. I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone. As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them. And the world my real thoughts show me will dawn on their sight as well as mine. Oh, it's on you.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am alone in nothing. Everything I think or say or do teaches all of the universe. A son of God cannot think or speak or act in vain. He cannot be alone in anything. It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine, for mine is the power of God. I am determined to see. Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts, I am determined to see. I would look upon the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I would behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear, laughter to replace tears, and abundance to replace loss. I would look upon the real world and let it teach me that my will and the will of God are one. I am determined to see things differently. What I see now are but signs of disease, disaster, and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved Son. The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son. What I see tells me that I do not know who I am. I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself.
Mm. Mm.
What I see is a form of vengeance. What I see is a form of vengeance. The world I see is hardly the representation of loving thoughts. It is a picture of attack on everything by everything. It is anything but a reflection of the love of God and the love of his Son. It is my own attack thoughts that give rise to this picture. My loving thoughts will save me from this perception of the world and give me the peace God intended me to have. I'm going to do one more.
Mm-hmm.
I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Here, nowhere else. Without see a world of attack. As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. And it is this I choose to see in place of what I look on now.
Would you mind reading it again? Because you
Yeah.
tried to break up. You tried to not hear you. Thank you.
I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Herein lies salvation and nowhere else. Without attack thoughts, I could not see a world of attack. As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. And it is this I choose to see in place of what I look on now.
Thank you. Robert, you ready? Thank
You bet.
you.
I do not perceive my own best interest. How could I recognize my own best interest when I do not know who I am? What I think are my best interests would merely bind me closer to the world of illusions. I am willing to follow the guide God has given me to find out what my own best interests are, recognizing that I cannot perceive them by myself. I do not know what anything is for. To me, the purpose of everything is to prove that my illusions about myself are real. It is for this purpose that I attempt to use everything and everyone. It is for this that I believe the world is for. Therefore, I do not recognize its real purpose. The purpose I have given the world has led to a frightening picture of it. Let me open my mind to the world's real purpose by withdrawing the one I have given it and learning the truth about it. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. How can I know who I am when I see myself as under constant attack? Pain, illness, loss, age, and death seem to threaten me. All my hopes and wishes and plans appear to be at the mercy of a world I cannot control. Yet perfect security and complete fulfillment are my inheritance. I have tried to give my inheritance away in exchange for the world I see. But God has kept my inheritance safe for me. My own real thoughts will teach me what it is. I'll finish out this
Yeah.
next couple.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Above all else, I want to see. Recognizing that what I see reflects what I think I am, I realize that vision is my greatest need. The world I see attests to the fearful nature of the self-image I have made. If I would remember who I am, it is essential that I let these images of myself go. As it is replaced by truth, vision will surely be given me. And with this vision, I will look upon the world and on myself with charity and love. Above all else, I want to see differently. The world I see holds my fearful self-image in place and guarantees its continuance. While I see the world as I see it now, truth cannot enter my awareness. I would let the door behind this world be opened for me, that I may look past it to the world that reflects the love of God. God is in everything I see. Behind every image I have made, the truth remains unchanged. Behind every veil I have drawn across the face of love, its light remains undimmed. Beyond all my insane wishes is my will, united with the will of my Father. God is still everywhere and in everything forever. And we who are part of Him will yet look past all appearances and recognize the truth beyond them all. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. In my own mind, behind all my insane thoughts of separation and attack, is the knowledge that all is one forever. I have not lost the knowledge of who I am because I have forgotten it. It has been kept for me in the mind of God, who has not left his thoughts, and I, who am among them, am one with them and one with him.
Thank you, brother.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Oh, ooh, Doug.
I'm not the victim of the world I see. How can I be the victim of the world that can be completely undone if I so choose? The chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. The prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight. At last, I'm not a victim of the world I see. I have invented the world I see. I made up the prison in which I see myself. All I need do is recognize this, and I am free. I've deluded myself into believing it is possible to imprison the Son of God. I was bitterly mistaken in this belief, which I no longer want. The Son of God must be free forever. He is as God created him, and not what I would make of him. He is where God would have him be, and not where I thought to hold him prisoner. I've invented the world I see. There's another way of looking at the world. Since the purpose of the world is not the one I ascribe to it, there must be another way of looking at it. I see everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of truth. I see the world as a prison for God's Son. It must be then that the world is really a place where he can be set free. I would look upon the world as it is and see it as a place where the Son of God finds his freedom. There is another way of looking at the world. I could see peace out of this. When I see the world as a place of freedom, I realize it reflects the laws of God instead of the rules I've made up for it to obey. I will understand that peace, not war, abides in it. And I will perceive that peace also abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me. I could see peace instead of this.
Brother Doug.
Hi, Dave.
And Robert. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you.
My avatar is somewhat disheveled today. I literally just got back from a motorcycle ride up to a little swimming hole that I know up the road. I woke up this morning, I thought I'm going for breakfast at my favorite cafe. It's 130 kilometers away. So I jumped on the bike and went for breakfast and then went for a swim. And it started to rain. I thought I'll get back before Zoom, and I just got back. It's incredible.
You don't
Miraculous.
Look disheveled.
I know, look, my beard.
No, you don't. You don't. You look refreshed, actually.
It's like this. It's like
Okay.
this all the way back. My beard's like, Doug would know if he rides a motorcycle, but I need one of those little keeper things. Your body is, like your true self is eternally undishevelable, but your avatar is prone to the dictates of time and space.
Yes.
But it doesn't bother you, like when you keep your mind focused. Here I am with the Christ in my own self-presence or presence of self. It doesn't matter a bit, but I'm going to have to brush the knots out of my beard later, which won't be so much fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What's happening, Anna?
Hey,
Hey,
I don't know. Things feel a little bit chaotic the past week. Very fast
I can
paced.
tell.
Yeah, lots of changes, lots of family drama, like everything just kind of all at once. So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Gives you a beautiful forum to practice forgiveness and all of those other sorts of principles in.
Yeah, it does when you can see that that's what it is.
Right, when you can see it. Exactly. There's another way, like Doug just read. There's another way of seeing the world.
Yeah.
You have to see the world as that practice ground. I was reading a little bit in the text, or I wasn't even reading it. I was being downloaded it or whatever. Like, when you lay in bed and first thing in the morning and then you just get a whole bunch of stuff in your head.
Yeah.
you're trying to organize your day and give it to Jesus. It's like, here, Lord, here's my day today. And then already the Holy Spirit's giving you a whole bunch of stuff to get in there before you get too active, you know. And I was looking at the idea of that the world was made as a forum where a mind can undergo its transformation and learn to make better choices, you know. And that whole idea that the schism, or that the tiny mad idea, occurred in the mind of God's Son, which is the Christ mind, in eternity, not even here. But here is the place where we sort of come and we look at it reasonably. And I look at the idea of separation in my own mind and the forms it takes in the relationships I have, and I see where it's reflected, you know. And usually all those things, like you've been going through your mother and your kids and whatever, they're going to be the closest and most poignant reflections that you have. You're not going to escape those ones.
Nope.
Other ones that seem to be more superficial, you can just like flip them off and just get on your motorbike and go for a ride up the road and do stuff. It's not true. Everything keeps coming around because the lesson repeats until it's learned. So,
Yeah.
but that idea, like today, when I was riding back on my motorbike, this is a funny thing. So quite often when I'm in my car alone, doing a long drive or something like that, I'll get Jesus talking to me while I'm driving, and I'll just start laughing for no reason at all. I'll just start laughing out loud, and I'll be like, yes, brother, yes, brother, yes, brother. And I can hear this voice in my head, not a verbal voice, like a silent voice. And I can just hear this voice telling me. And when I was riding back today, he said, teach the release of fear, you know, like I want you to teach the fear. Right. So, and I just said, yes. You know, and then I had immediately, this is the immediacy of salvation. Immediately, I had a whole pile up of traffic in front of me. I'm doing about 130 kilometers an hour trying to get back for the Zoom meeting. I had a whole pile of traffic in front of me. I couldn't see around it. And I was either going to go to the left or go to the right because I couldn't stop. So I just went to the right and just trusted that, you know, Jesus would arrange time and space, not a car, not a vehicle, nothing. And I just went, woo, past these 2 trucks in a caravan or camper van or whatever it's called, and then back here. But there was that decision to let go of the fear because I was going to put my foot on the brake. And it's like, it just shows up as anything, absolutely anything, the slightest little decision, you know, the relationship that you have with the cars and traffic in front of you. And the only thought that was going through my head is, this is funny because it's like the only thought going through my head when I was overtaking was, I'll be fine. I'm far too valuable to salvation to have an accident. And that's the perspective every child of God should take that embarks upon salvation. You know what Jesus says? Jesus says you don't, it's not that you don't value yourself and value the gifts of God. You don't value them enough, right? It's not that you don't ask for stuff. You don't ask for enough. It's the same perspective, right? Everything that the human mind, that the human association accepts into its consciousness of itself is always filtered. It's always like dumbed down to a point where I think this is what I can accept about myself or accept about the world, because it seems to have some sort of correlation to external references that you're familiar with, right? And when you decide, hang on a minute, I need to get beyond all these familiar things in order to learn something new, right? There's an acceptance of that as well, right? I'm going to step beyond familiar boundaries, familiar patterns of thought, patterns of behavior therefore coming from my thought, to try and invoke in me, or to try and bring about in me a greater awareness of not only life on earth as I think I am as this temporal association undergoing this transformative process, but the truth of me, where that fits in with it all. right? As eternal, whole, and perfect as God created me, right? That's a non-physical experience, but that's where I'm headed, right? When I look at it in my own mind, it's like, all right, I'm looking for Jesus tells me in the Course, I'm looking for an experience where the world vanishes, the world disappears, and I find myself beyond time and space in its entirety, beyond my body, beyond everything else, right? Of course, my mind is going to try and fathom, now, what's that going to look like? You can't know what it's going to look like. How are you going to know what it looks like with that dumbass mind that's trying to figure it all out that doesn't know? So you just have to accept, I've got no clue what it's going to look like. I'll just stay there. I'll just stay in the no clue. And then I can be shown. Then I can learn. Whilst I insist on continually trying to work it out, what happens if I allow myself to open up to greater love? What's that going to look like? Does that mean I'm going to have to let defenses down? Does that mean I'm going to have to practice forgiveness and tolerance and patience and embrace in all those things I've tried to reject so hard for so long because I thought they weren't in my own good? What happens then? You know, surely if I forgive this person, then the structure of attack and defense that I've used to maintain distance and separation with that person is going to have to fall away. And the original wound, the original sin, the original grievance is going to be laid bare again. Right? The method of adjusting from it being laid bare in the first place, or from it being there in the first place, was simply to defend yourself. What am I defending myself from if everything is love? Love. If God is everything, what is there to defend myself from? Myself. But because my mind always thinks in terms of attack and defense, I always attack or defend myself first as an idea of what I think my safety is, based on my idea that I think I'm a body. And it's not true. I've got to let that whole way of thinking go. I can't have something else first and then let it go as a, you know, like there's no surety and no guarantees. It's always only going to be a leap of faith. I'm going to let that go. My mother-in-law is going to come in here and yell and scream about how I'm raising the kids and all this sort of stuff, and I'm not going to defend myself. I'm going to refuse to defend myself, and I'm going to allow all of that emotionality to come up. Anna. Right. It's like someone's going to say something, and rather than defend myself, or rather than try to make out that, oh, well, maybe we can agree to disagree, which was a post I put up this morning, I'm simply going to stand in the dumbness of my thinking, right? Dumb and done. You know, what's that film, Dumb and Dumber? There's no degrees of dumb and dumber. It's just dumb, right? So I'm just going to sit in my dumb thinking. Trying to get dumber thinking is just a different variation of a theme. It's like you're insane or you're insane, one or the other. There's not more insane than another. Any loss of peace is all loss of peace. So I sit there in my dumbness and I allow myself to be affected. It's like, holy cow, this is great stuff. Here's my mother-in-law having her little bitchy thing. She comes over every school holidays and she bitches and whinges about the state of my house or how I'm raising my kids or whatever's going on. And I get triggered by it. And I want to tell her to shut up and mind her own business. But I realize, what am I defending myself against if this is truly just a dream? Let me not defend myself and allow whatever comes up to come up. Not just so that I can feel bad or whatever, but so it comes up for healing. Here, Father, look what's coming up. Take this from me, Lord. Holy Spirit, I give you all this anxiety. I give you all this grievance and judgment and everything that's coming up now, rather than me blurping it out at my mother-in-law, destroying the relationship further. Right? Now, that takes practice. The natural response of the ego or the mind that doesn't remember what it is to defend itself. Because it's sure that by its own defense that it will be given its safety. If I don't let anything in, then I'll maintain the status quo. If I feel safe by defending myself against the whole world, at least I may not have much of an experience, but at least I'll be safe. And meanwhile, you just keep adding bricks onto the roof of your house and waiting for it to collapse because you can only defend yourself for so long. Eventually, you feel so alienated and so withdrawn and so inhibited that something's got to give. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm supposed to be following Jesus. Give up the world and follow me, says Jesus. It's like, imagine how many times he would have had to turn around to the disciples. It's like, hey, man, your house is covered in rocks and bricks and shit. Like you're slowing us all down. Just forgive that stuff and, let's just move on together in this whole beautiful journey. And so they called you a name, Jesus, in that last town we were in. They called you a whatever it was. We should go and avenge you. Who was the guy, Tina, that got the sword, when the Romans came to take him? Was it Simon?
Yeah, Peter.
Peter cut off the guard's ear or something, stick it back on. I get this kind of feeling Jesus would have always been like accommodating for the fuck ups of the like, stop that. Who told you to bring a sword? Monty Python. You can almost see it, I mean, you got to picture the time they're in, Roman occupation, etc., etc. But still, here's the Messiah fixing the fuck ups of his disciples. Here, man, I'll just stick that ear back on for you. How's that? It's hilarious. He didn't mean to do that. He's just listening to the wrong voice. Right, so we have all these lessons, Anna, that need to be applied. So it's good that you can see that. Every time you successfully apply a lesson in place of successfully listening to that first voice, something changes. Right? Every time you don't even have to know how to forgive, you can't, right? But every time you become willing to forgive in any relationship and allow that stepping back so that the Holy Spirit can intercede on your behalf, it's like something changes. Sometimes you may not recognize it, but sometimes the anxiety and the release of all that emotional stuff is going to be so profound, you'll absolutely recognize it. Especially the next time your mother-in-law comes to visit and you'll be like, wow, she's carrying on like crazy and it's not even affecting me. There's no trigger. Forgiveness heals all of that blockage, all of that thinking that makes you want to validate your defenses and make them stronger and all of that sort of stuff. So, nope. Water off a duck's back, in the world, but not of it. So that's good. What's happening, Tina? Have you been to Illinois yet? Is it Illinois? Champaign?
Not yet. Chewing up my yes.
Got your yes. Anna's got her yes.
Yeah.
I think you guys should carry as many boxes of books as you can fit under your arms and get out of there.
That's the plan, but I'm trying not to, try and let it be miraculous. That Holy Spirit take.
Let it be miraculous. Let it be miraculous. Gemma's going to wire you the money for bus fare or train or however you get there. I have no clue how you get there. And then you just go.
All right.
You just go. You take a foot out the front and say, ta-da, and you don't look back. Got it?
Yeah.
Something is going to happen.
Something's happening. There. It's all good. It's happening now.
Something, I can tell something's already happening.
It's like insane. Yeah.
There's another whole thing. You trust me. There's another whole thing when you get there is going to just blow your mind.
Some more.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So what are we doing today? Robert?
What are we
So-
doing?
Tell us a story. Where are you at? Are you in America?
I am in California right now. Yes.
Oh, you're with Tina.
Where are you?
I'm over,
Tina's-
Where are
I'm
you?
over by LA, San Dimas.
Dude, me too. I'm in
There
Cape
we
Town.
go. There we go. I feel an emergence happening or something.
Another one.
Another one. It's everywhere when you see it rightly.
Oh
It's
my
just like-
God. Yeah, all times of the morning. It's happening.
You're a course student, Robert.
Yeah, for about a year and a half. Yeah.
Oh,
So I've been in doing TTC with Nook Sanchez.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're about
But I don't know what the TTC thing is.
total transformation course is what it's called.
Okay,
Yeah. And I
looks
see,
pretty awesome.
yeah, I seen you guys on Lloyd and Steph's video last week, and
We're everywhere.
you are now. I see you everywhere.
Bibiana. Oh, look at you.
Hello.
There's a whole new fresh energy going on there. That's lovely.
Decision in a mind.
Doug, what's going on with brother Doug?
Hi, Dave.
I haven't seen much of your artwork online lately.
Well, it's happening internally.
Uh-huh. I used to enjoy seeing all your abstract pieces.
Well, you can still enjoy it
I do.
abstractly.
I do enjoy it. All right,
So-
so today we... Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
One thing that I wanted to say was that I think something that stuck with me for a good long while is the idea of asking for more, and this sense of so much more being available if you ask for it. And so I've been believing and experiencing this more, the sense of I guess the opposite of lack, if there is such a thing, but I guess temporally, the sense of more. And that's one thing I wanted to say. And the other thing I wanted to say was that well, I forgot what the second thing was going to be. I know it was a good one. It was definitely a good one. Well, I'll just backtrack a second. So this idea of what love is, so me asking to be shown what love is, and meditating on it, and expecting to be shown, not knowing. I mean, I obviously knew that my idea of love was extremely extremely lacking. And so part of my experience recently has been to discover, by not knowing how it was going to show up and what it was going to look like, a more real or deeper or vast or experiential, however you'd want to say it. And it's been a lovely thing to experience it mentally, emotionally, physically, like to have it alive inside of this vessel and to be in it for long periods of time is it's just a wonderful thing, I have to say.
Good.
That's about it, Dave.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Gotta ask. You gotta ask.
Yeah.
You can read the course all you want. You can go to all the groups you want and do all the study and everything, but you gotta ask. It's like, here I am. I want to know.
And I think you have to do it like every day until it starts coming. You really have to make a dedication, like, this is what I want, and show it to me. Let me have the experience, and until it shows up. And sometimes it's going through, I'm speaking more in not coarse language at the moment, but when it shows up as blocks or resistance or fear and strong negative emotion and all that, as you were saying earlier, sticking with it, that being actually that bouquet of flowers. I've been looking at pain and suffering, whatever that is, as like, that's the bouquet. You know what I mean? It's like, you really have to see that as the opening door. That's the passageway. That's the bouquet of flowers. The pain and suffering, the illusion of that, once it's understood that you're facing this illusion, this lesson, and you can begin to sense it as a bouquet, just get this idea that this is ultimately really good for you, and sticking with it. I really think, part of the asking and part of the expecting, and then when these blocks come up, this is the bouquet, this is the way in through the door, And so that's been exciting, especially this week. Today, I just had some real epiphanies. I had a tough week, and I was like, damn it, just show me this. What is it? Show me. I want to see. I want to see this. I'm fighting an illusion. I'm fighting something that's coming my way. It hurts so much. It's just like one of the core, if you will, things. And then finally today, it just went like poof, and it just lifted, and all of a sudden I was back in my center, back in this love, reemerged, if you will. And it's like, destruction and collapse, and then this rebirth. So today, I meditated a little while ago, and I was just sitting there and just falling into, deeper and deeper levels of just gratitude and serenity, that I stuck with it. And this hand came out to me and just said, as if there could be a timing, like, oh, well, now you're ready. It's like, well, where the hell were you a week ago when this started, and as if there's any time to any of this. And so this gratitude just overtook me the past couple of hours, and I just kept, and I was hoping for a non-state meditation. I was hoping just to, pass into this realm of non-being, of nothingness, which I so love. And instead, this language, this insightful language started coming to me that I didn't expect. I normally don't get talked to, and this was like a real, like, letting me down gently, like, well, this is now, it's okay for you to settle into this. And so that's it, Dave.
That's good. Sometimes, not so much these days, but in the earlier days of transformation, I'd say like 20 years ago, going back Jesus would talk to me like I was a bit of a dunce in the class. You know, like the way, just the mannerism of his voice, it would be authoritative, but it would be like, come on, man. It's like, it's so simple. Like, just,
Right.
you know, forget about all that stuff, you know, just let it happen and things like that.
Yeah.
Really, it was really like having an elder brother sort of talking to a younger brother from a point of greater knowledge or greater awareness. And they can sort of see you, you know, like Jesus can see you, and he can see what you're about to do as the younger brother in your own thinking. And he's like, don't do that. Just don't do that. Just
Right.
stop. Whatever you're doing, just stop and let something else happen, but not that.
Yeah. Right.
You know? And it's like the way that he used to talk to me was, he wasn't berating me so much, but he definitely wasn't impatient, but he was being very assertive. You know, like he was being very assertive. He knew I was in this with him. He knew that I was determined. I wasn't going to quit if he yelled at me or anything like that. And I'm sure there was times where he's lost his patience, you know, like as I do. But one of the things in the course, he says, I'm asking you to have more patience than I had. And I'm like, oh, damn, how the hell is that going to, you know, that's in the text. It's like, you're asking me to have more patience than you, and you put up with like a whole civilization that crucified you, even though that, you know, the occurrence of it, he would tell you that never happened. That wasn't me that was crucified and all of that stuff. So in my mind, that's a big ask, but it couldn't possibly be asked unless it was possible.
Right. Right.
You know?
Right.
But the possibility of it is only exposed through the relinquishment of what I think it could possibly be in the potential contained in it. I've got to let go of all of that.
Yeah.
What I think it might or might not be.
Right.
You know, one of the things I always find in asking is, and like where we were just talking earlier, is when I ask from a superficial level. Right? It's like, I got to remember that the schism occurred out of time. Right? Not even in my conscious self. Not even in the conscious self is a mechanism that I've developed to try and cope with an experience of self that I've set up to try and make sense of what's going on.
Right.
Now, my attempt to set it up to make sense of what's going on is always and only ever going to fail. And I'm only going to find success through the admission of failure. Right?
Yes.
But that failure can look like anything over time and space, another 130 billion years of failure. Like, what the hell do I want to do that for? Let me just decide that the whole thing right now is failure from start to finish and stop looking in my own thoughts for how it is that I think I should appeal to God.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's no way. There's no way, and there's nothing I can say, there's nothing I can concoct, there's nothing I can fabricate that's going to be the way that I talk to God. Because the way that I talk to God is through the prayer of the heart. And that's a feeling. You know, go to that place. I go to that place where I talk from the heart when I feel that I need to.
Yes.
I set it up as a religious practice. I don't set it up as a daily occurrence. I don't set it up as something like a ritual. It's like my Father is the living presence of life within me. And it's like there's times where I'm in the flow with that. And then there's other times where I feel like, wait a minute, I'm lost here somewhere. There's something going on. Those are the times where I need to go within.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when everything's good, it's like, well, be grateful. But it's like, I don't need to be asking for things to be good when things are good. I don't need to be asking for peace when my mind is peaceful, because if I'm happy and all of those things, then that state of mind reflects the nature of love on earth. It doesn't matter the external reason for it. I've got a nice partner, or I've just won some money, or whatever. All those reasons don't matter. There could be anything. And for some people, those reasons might be the opposite of what other people would say would bring them happiness. But it's simply the state that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Where is my mind in this situation or in that situation?
Right.
Now, when I go to prayer, when I feel the need to pray, it's like, let me be still. Let me be still and feel that prayer inside. You know, one of the, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but one of the little rites of passage, I guess, that new guys go through with their prayers and stuff, and it's like, and I exactly the same. You try to find the right prayer. Maybe if I get the words right, my prayer will be better. You know, it's like, there's no words for a prayer. You can mumble and stutter and dear God, you know, and all those agreements. I'll give up smoking if, and I'll be nice to somebody if, and all of these sort of mentalizations that we sort of think that prayers might be effective through. None of them are effective. They come from a place where I mean it and I want it in my heart. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? God's not sitting there as an idea of a functional force reality. God's not sitting there waiting for me to get the Rubik's Cube of my thinking in order so that, you know, it's like nature abhors a vacuum, which is Einstein will tell you that, right? Nature abhors a vacuum. If I perceive a need within me, it will be filled. But I've got to go to the place where I perceive the need within me.
Yeah.
There's no point sitting on the top, you know, on the surface in my little boat, asking God, how deep's the ocean? Just get in there.
Yeah.
Jump in. Take a leap of faith. Go and see. You know, this is an active, involved, personal, life-threatening procedure. And if it's not, you're not doing it right.
Right. Right.
This is the, you know, in Eastern traditions, they call it the death of the ego, right? Or the inner death or the little death, right? That has to happen. I don't know if I would call it a death. I would call it the relinquishment, perhaps. Death tends to summon up a lot of connotations of what I think death might be, and then therefore I become somewhat fearful of it. But when you think of it as simply letting go of a way of thinking that no longer serves you because you've reached a certain point of maturity in your own mind where you can actually see that it doesn't serve you without having to tell you, without having like your mother or your, you know, matriarchal or patriarchal figures tell you, don't think that way, you know, and people tell you that way of thinking is not going to get you anywhere in life, you know, and all of these sorts of things. And you're like, yeah. But now you can start to see for yourself that way of thinking doesn't get me anywhere in life. It just goes around and around and around in circles. I need to be miracle minded. I need a miraculous way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, now, how do I be miracle minded? I don't know. That's why it's called miracle minded. As soon as you think you know what miracle minded is, that's not miraculous.
Right. And the past several
just
days,
Doug and Dave minded again, you know. Like,
yeah, I was coming up with this idea of, you know, what is this now miracle thing? You know, because I needed what a Dave miracle? Like, I need a miracle. How do I do that?
right.
But inside I was, you know, asking, show me I'm doing it wrong. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Of course you're doing it wrong. That's your guarantee of getting it right.
Right. And I was thinking, you know, part of it is, and I say this to everybody, you know, make that heartfelt desire known. Ask, keep asking, you know, you're doing it wrong. Just for God's sake, show me. I can't get it right. And I think it's that persistence of sticking with it, asking to be shown. And of course, you know, the fear and the parts of us as if they could be outside of ourselves, you know, they show up. And then the other thing I had was, you know, the impossibility makes it possible. As soon as something is impossible, that's a guarantee you're onto something, because that makes it entirely possible. And so I had that kind of understanding today. It was just so lovely.
So time and space is a limit. Okay. Within that limit, it plays out in the field of your dreams as potential. Right?
Yeah.
It's possible because it's inevitable. Your mind already contains the entirety of time and space in it as a transcript. Your mind already contains everything there ever is to know about time and space, and yet here I am, I seem to be locating myself somewhere within it, experiencing it as I go along, as if I don't know what the hell's going on, which is not true, right? It's not true. I'm omnipresent, as above, so below. The great deception is that I think I don't know what's going on here.
Right.
Of course, I wrote the script.
Yeah. It's like,
so the potential contained in it guarantees the possibility of everything being in my mind at once. Right. Because there is only this moment. The idea of time is like that linear tube, and if you turn it on the end, you can see the past and the future all in one moment. Right?
Yeah.
Now, how do I turn that? How do I turn that around in my mind so that instead of having to participate in a linear fashion, I actually go vertically or through the tube, everything all at once.
Right.
But there's no point in studying the course for 30, 40, 50 years, still persisting in that production line of time and space, looking for the options that I've got in the potential that seems to be showing up.
Right.
That's pointless. What am I going to do? I'm just going to keep banging my head against the brick wall, right? Let go.
Right.
I've got no idea. I've got no idea, Lord. I need a miracle.
No, I know.
I've got no idea. As soon as I say I've got no idea, and then I think I'll try to construct another idea about how to be miracle minded, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
No idea.
Right.
Now, stay there. Stay in that place. Be still. Father, I have no idea. Show me. Right. The next thought that pops into my mind is going to be the denial of that determination to be still and to be shown.
Yeah.
Oh, look, something shiny. Literally, the whole thing is resist not evil. Right? Evil is the misperception. Don't resist it. Just let it happen.
Oh, yeah.
The whole world is misperception. The whole world. There's nothing here I am ever going to get right. Nothing. Right is relative. And God is guaranteed. There's no relativity in what's guaranteed. It's the same for everybody. Now I have to choose. Which one do I want? Be still. Holy Son, come home. Awaken. Right there. That's the doorway. Now, how you knock is by being still. How you knock on the door, where Jesus says, knock and the door shall be open. You be still. Your stillness is the knocking on the door.
Oh, beautiful.
Everything else is a distraction. Everything else is a perversion of what it is that you're being asked to do. When Jesus says, knock and the door shall be opened, it's like, I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where the door is. But I can be shown. But I can't be shown whilst I'm still preoccupied with everything else that seems to be going on, that obviously to date has not been the knocking on the door. Continue to look in my own thinking for how to knock on the door. You know? And then the mind training kicks in, because the more you apply the mind training, the less fear you have to be still. Right? Now, you ask anyone who's ever done a deep meditation and they've encountered the darkness and the pitch black of the void and the emptiness and the nothingness within, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. You feel like you're being sucked out of your own consciousness, like you're going to slip into a total state of insanity with no point of recovery. You know, the thing to hang on to. It's like going down one of those water slide things. And once you're over the top, that little threshold, and the water carries you, you can't get back up. There's no way to stop it. Right? You're in for the ride, penny or pound. It's terrifying. But as you go through the mind training, right? So Jesus says most are given a slowly evolving training program. As you go through the mind training, one relationship after another, after another, after another, you're taking a little leap of faith with each one, learning that letting go of your defenses isn't as soul destroying as you think it is. Right? That when you become willing to let go of my defenses, when I become willing to accept God's forgiveness in place of my judgments, that even though I will have to undergo that emotional release, even though I'll have to undergo the energetic expulsion of that compacted light, right, that I've confined to my bodily association, which perhaps I might call cancer, or I might call diabetes, or I might call any number of kind of physical ailments that I will impact myself with to try and justify my defenses. The release of it is always going to show you where it is you were at before you made the judgment, before you made the decision to condemn and be condemned. Right? It's going to take you right back to that place. That's why this journey is a journey back in time. It's a journey back to the beginning. We're not actually going forward in time. Right? He says in the Course, time's going backwards. You're not aware of it because the mind's completely focused on one day after the next, 1 minute after the next, 1 hour after the next, and seems to be this logical progression going forward, forward, forward. When you start to see, it's like Tesla, Nikola Tesla, see things in terms of energy, see things in terms of light and frequency. When you start to see things like that, you'll start to realize that as you go through the process of your healing more and more and more, you become more carefree. You become more like a child, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. You become more light. And you realize that emotionally and vibrationally, you're actually going back to a point where innocence was your perspective on things, simplicity was your perspective on things, before you started to try and work it all out. And if you look at little kids don't try to work it all out. They're running around, they're banging their heads, they're falling off their bikes, they're doing all sorts of crazy shit, and they get back on and they do it again until somebody tells them, hey, you need to wear a helmet, or hey, you need to put a bandage on that. They literally don't care. They'll play with their elbow bleeding out, you know, and they'll play with an egg on their head. They'll cry about it for a minute, and then they'll be straight back into it with no thought of protecting their head for future references, you know. But as we get older, we sit down and go, oh, maybe I need to put something on my head because I seem to, you know, maybe I need to protect myself and defend myself. And it's like there's a point where you realize that I'm getting the results of my own thinking. And when you're willing for the results of your own thinking to be exactly as they need to be for you to learn, you'll find that you are able to learn through grace rather than through getting the effect, you know, cause and effect relationship where something has to happen to you to make you pay attention.
Oh, that's good.
That's the whole thing. The universe is trying to get your attention.
Yes.
There's a little tiny, Ted used to talk about it as there's a little black spot on the sun today. You know that song by The Police, by Sting? There's a little black spot on the sun today. And you're trying not to look at it. Right? Everything's a distraction. Jesus is saying, no, let's look at that tiny mad idea together, right? And we'll watch it just disappear. We'll watch it just vanish because of the impossibility of it. And you're like, well, let me just think about that. That's a bit scary because all I've ever known is the complete perfect unity and wholeness of my eternal state. And now I'm being told that even though I don't remember my eternal state, I've got to look on something that represents the denial of it. It's like automatically there's going to be a conflict in my mind. Automatically I'm going to look at that and go, how could that possibly make sense? And I'll find myself wedged up in the paradox of it. The last thing I want to do is be wedged up in the paradox, right up tight in the bloody apex, you know, because there's nowhere to go with it. There is no world, but I seem to find myself in a world. Now, what do I do with that? How do I get out of that? Everything in my mind is structured, in my conscious mind is structured as a way of distraction to try and get me out of looking at that. There is no out of it. I'm caught in a loop, one of those eternal Mobius loops. I'm looking at the paradox again and again and again. And all that I'm doing in my own mind is adjusting. So I don't have to feel the pain. I'm adjusting to my pain. Right? Don't adjust. Be still. Right? Let the Holy Spirit take care of it. You have to die. It's like in the Bible, Jesus says, I must become less so that he may become more. That's what's going on. In my own sense of self, in my own self-identity, the idea of a Dave or the idea of this bodily avatar, Dave or whatever, is completely ridiculous to me now. It's like sometimes I look at it and I'm like, what do I do with this? Even in the usefulness of it, it's still like a badly fitting suit of clothes. You know, that's how it's sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but at one time I would have just taken it for granted. This is my body. I use it for learning. I use it for doing things. I use it for whatever I use it for. Now it seems completely preposterous. I don't even see myself particularly as in it or associated with it. It's just this thing that has a mouthpiece and declares my certainty that the Father and the Son are one, that there is no world. Based on the experience I've had and the transformational shifts that have, made that experience useful, I guess. So it's like when I'm asking in my heart, I'm going to sit in that place where I'm asking, because the true prayer for the realization of self has been placed there by God. It's got nothing to do with me. God put the prayer there. Jesus says that God put that prayer on your heart that will awaken you from the dream in its entirety. He didn't leave you to struggle and suffer in time and space ad infinitum, you know. So let me be still in prayer. Let me allow for that to come up. Now, each person's going to do that to whatever capacity they can. It's like not all of us are Jesus, where we go and sit in the desert, draw a circle and sit there for 40 days and 40 nights and allow everything to come up that needs to come up and face all our deceptions and all of our, antagonisms and all of that sort of stuff. It's like most of us will draw our circle, let's say, in a meditative way, and we'll sit there and we'll face the perils of the day. If you could sit there and truly realize that the perils of the day are no different from the perils of the entirety of time and space, just the emotional depth seems to be different. And I say seems to be, it's not really, right? It's still a tiny mad idea as a tiny mad idea. You have no clue. It's like, so the idea of the Titanic hitting the iceberg, you can see the tip of the iceberg, but you have no clue how much is underneath. You presume, we assume and we project and we imagine. Right? So when you sit still in your meditation and you feel that depth, you feel that drawing in to the void and that dark place in there, which is a good thing. If you're feeling that, it's a good thing. You really have no clue how deep it goes and how dark it gets, other than that your ego is going to be screaming out to tell you, don't go there, don't go there, don't look at that. Allow that to happen. Which is what we were talking about the other week on Lloyd and Stephanie's page, Zoom thing, But you don't know. And that's where the mind training is so important, because you have to tell yourself, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm even trying to do here. I'm just going to follow the steps, do what Jesus tells me to do, and I'm just going to sit here, be still, and allow it to happen And despite that, my mind's going to want to tempt me to believe one of my thoughts about something that I've just admitted I have no clue about, you know, the mind training kicks in where I tell myself, no, I'm not going to adjust. I'm not going to give myself any wiggle room, because I know that I'm right up against it. And the more up against it that I can be, the better and more honest I'll be in my attempt to be still. You know? It's like you look at that first lesson. Nothing I see means anything. Now, where do you go with that? Do you just go and read the next lesson? Or does it really deep in the gut? Nothing I see means anything. Holy shit. That's true. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Now what do I do? Now what do I do? I've given meaning to is just become null and void. Now what? I've given lesson 2. I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. That's true also. It's only in my thinking that I decide what I think things are. But my thinking doesn't know the truth. Right. Only relative truth, only truth to me, and that's not truth. That's not universal truth. So therefore it's not truth at all. If there's a single truth of which we are a whole and equal part, then the idea of a relative truth, a truth for you and a truth for me, is completely pointless. We'll just argue about that as well, the same that we argue about anything. This is my truth, and you can have your truth. And then when those truths collide, look at the great religions of the world. That's what happens. I'm a representative of truth in my country, and well, I'm a representative of truth in my country, and our truths don't meet eye to eye here. That's why Jesus says a universal experience is not only possible, but it's necessary. You have to have an experience. You're only going to have the experience if you be still and allow it to dawn on you. Stop adjusting. It's waiting right now. This moment. Salvation is not beyond the immediacy of learning. When am I going to learn salvation? Oh, maybe when I finish the course, or maybe in 10 years' time after I've been to enough workshops and, you know, seminars and Zoom meetings, and that's never going to happen. But you have to hear that that's never going to happen again and again and again and again. Because when I tell you that it's never going to happen that way, you only hear it with your conscious self. You only hear it with the surface, on the surface. Now, if I tell you, Doug, this has already happened in you somewhere, right? Like you just told me. It's possible because of the inevitability of it. If my awakening from time and space is guaranteed because time and space is limited, right? The alpha and the omega don't contain my reality. It's like the idea of quantum, right? So when I look at the sun, it takes 8 minutes, I think it is, for the light of the sun to reach the retina of my body's eye. And so it means when I'm seeing the sun, it's actually 8 minutes past in the sky where it was when I first started to look at it. Because it took 8 minutes, not that I really want you to go and look at the sun, but you know what I mean? Now, look at all time and space like that. Look at all of time and space in the same regard. If Jesus is telling me, I am the way, the truth, and the light, the fulfillment of the resurrection has already occurred in you, and you don't have to wait for all time to be over and done to experience that. You can experience it now, right? All right, I want to experience it now. If it's already occurred, that means everything that I'm seeing is no longer there. Just like the sun is no longer where it was 8 minutes ago in the sky when I looked at it, right? If it's no longer there, that means that by the time I sit here, if I'm able to maintain a physical presence long enough, the light from the most distant star, that star's already died out. What I'm seeing is the residue, or the resulting, what would you call it, the shadow of something that's actually already over and done. That star exploded and no longer exists a trillion years ago. But the light of it is just coming to my awareness now. Right? Now, let me accept that that star's already not there, so I don't have to stick around and wait for the light of it to come to a conclusion. It's already done. Right? In the Course, Jesus says, God gave answer simultaneous to the question. Right? Which means there's no time where the question actually ever was. But I seem to find myself in this sort of loop, playing out again and again, day after day, moment after moment, this idea of time where I think that an answer that God gave takes time for me to hear it.
Yeah.
Right? That's simply not true. That's a deception. That's a game I play in my own mind to keep myself separate from the answer, because fundamentally, I don't want to give up the world and follow Jesus. I'm telling myself that I probably should do that because it's Jesus. And everybody says how good he is. And this is salvation, and it's something that I should really want. The bottom line is I don't want it. I hate Jesus. I hate myself. I can't stand the world. Fuck you, God. Right? That's the bottom line. That's more honest than saying that I want it. It's like the one thing that a human being is terrified to do is to love themselves unconditionally. Terrified. Because then you're going to have to love everyone and everything else unconditionally. That's going to null and void your whole thought system. That's going to null and void the whole idea of what a Doug is or a Dave is. The body is the symbol of denial. If I'm not in denial, I can't maintain the body. But you have to see the big picture. You got to see the bigger picture. It's like, well, if salvation's offering me the restoration of all of eternity in exchange for this little world that I think I made, or this little perception of a world that I think I made, then I can begin to learn of that by letting go of my perception of things a bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And we have these holy instants. We have these moments where all of a sudden we have maybe some phenomena or an epiphany. Like you said, you had an epiphany this morning, right? So I have an epiphany that shows me something about myself that brings me a greater reward in my understanding of self than what I was what I thought I was able to maintain by defending myself from it in the first place.
Yeah.
You get to the point and you go, well, what the hell was I even trying to do? You can't remember. Just literally can't remember. Why am I defending myself? I don't really know.
Right.
Why am I telling God to go jump off a cliff? I don't really know.
Right.
I'm just told that I am. I'm just told about this story like Adam and Eve or the fall for grace or A Course in Miracles tells me that something occurred, right? Yet the experience shows me that nothing actually occurred. But it's like a little kid. You have to kind of be tricked into accepting that there's something going on for your own best interest. But it's got to be, you've got to believe that it was actually your idea.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'll listen to Jesus for another 2,000 years, and yep, that sounds good, Jesus. Yep, I'll follow you, Lord. Whatever you say, I'll do it. And the idea of doing it and saying it and doing what I'm told with Jesus maintains my ability to have a dream in the world. It just changes the motion. It just changes the nature of my dream. Right? By the time you realize how much it's changed and you realize that you can't go back to being who you thought you were before and that you wouldn't want to really anyway, the reasonability of it is such that you have no choice but to kind of convince yourself that it was your idea. It's funny stuff. It was inevitable. It was inevitable, you know. It's like as if I have a say in God's will. What am I going to say? What? I don't have a say at all. It's an illusion that I have free will. So all my questioning, all my trying to work it out, all my everything else, it's pointless. I could literally sit here in my circle in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights without food and without water and allow my body to decompose if that was the case. And I would still find myself exactly where I am. In truth. Because that circle, that sitting and that doing represents a state of perfect defenselessness.
Yeah.
Why would I defend myself if I knew this was truly a dream? Why would I worry about getting caught up in that pointy little place in the paradox if I knew that that was actually the doorway out of here?
Yeah.
The only reason I try to work it out or try to look at it from every which way angle that I can is because I don't really want out of here. I just want a better dream. I just want a dream where people don't kill me. I just want a dream where I have a little bit more money or a little bit more happiness or maybe more sex or whatever it is that flips your lid. You know? When Jesus says, give up the world and follow me, if you truly heard that giving up, if you truly heard of the giving up, you'd be like, holy crap. I don't want to give up the world and follow you, Jesus. You're a maniac. You kind of got something loose in the skull cap going on there, you know, like, what are you talking about? I've got a family, I've got kids, I've got obligations, I've got a job to go to tomorrow. I've got all these things going on. And Jesus is just saying to me over and over, all he's saying is, you see that far distant star at the very edge of the universe? It's no longer there. That's all he's saying over and over and over. It's already done. You're already awake. There is no world. It's finished. Now, be still. Stay there. You have no say in it. Not one say in it. He's already resurrected. One mind is all mind. A resurrected mind. Jesus was that star, right? So Jesus is the star, the farthest distant star in the universe that you think you can see. That was Jesus. He's already gone. You're waiting for that light of his goneness to come into the retina of your awareness so you can justify to yourself that he's already gone rather than take it on faith that he's actually already gone. O ye of little faith. It's a done deal. You can't fuck it up, Doug. Now, what do you want to say? Pass the peas. That's it. One of the lines that I love in the course is, and I had this one in my head a few times this week, actually, probably as a precursor to today, but in the hearing, is you would not react at all to figures in a dream if you truly knew you were dreaming, right? And the other one is, they are not there, no more are you, right? The people and the shapes and the houses and the trees and the things that you think you see around you are not there. No more are you. Right? You're not here either. There is no Doug trying to work out his salvation. There is no Robert or a Dave or a Anna or a Tyna trying to work out salvation, doing the lessons of the course. It's a self-sacrificing teaching. Right? It makes itself redundant. It's like you can't work it out with your head because it's like it's automatically, no matter where you turn, you're in the paradox again. You're going to find yourself right back here and now all the time, here and now all the time. Here I am again. Here I am again. Here I am again. In this moment, now, now, now. Why do I keep finding myself coming back to the here and the now? Is because that's where the doorway is. Right? The here and the now is an idea. It's an idea of total acceptance, total release, total relinquishment, total surrender. How long do I want to be a student of the course? How long do I want to be an aspirant, a spiritual aspirant, or a seeker, or a whatever? It's like at some point you got to just find it, find what you're looking for. It doesn't take time. But yet within you are the remnants of time, which is contained as potential. Right? That's why it's very helpful when you use the course, when you use those lessons, to see the cycles of thought that you keep interacting with. It's like it's literally perpetuating the same thing over and over and over in a different way. This person or that person. It doesn't matter who the person is, what the situation is. It's the lesson that it's being held out to realize one single thing, that there is no world. It doesn't actually exist. But you've got to catch yourself in the lesson. You've got to catch yourself in the cycle. It's like, here it is, my mother-in-law again, giving me an opportunity to realize a point of defensiveness in me. It's not a defense against my mother-in-law. It's a defense against realizing the truth, because truth is all there is. God is everything. There is no such thing as a mother-in-law or a boss or someone that I might have agreements with. The only grievance I ever have is with myself, because I don't want to wake up. Now, that's an honest place. I don't want to wake up. Try to find that. It's like the first obstacle to peace is the desire to get rid of it. Right? The first obstacle to peace in the course, the desire to get rid of it. I've had people stamping their feet and waving their fist in my face. I do want peace. I want peace. All is peace. I've pursued peace my whole life. You know, and I'm like, okay, how long you want to tell yourself that? You know, God's not withholding it from you. The more you stamp your foot and tell me you want it, tells me that you don't have it. Now, stop stamping your foot and waving your fist and trying to tell me that you want it, and simply be it. I am that peace. I am the peace of God. In this world, that can look like anything. Don't judge the form, apply the principle. In this world, it can look like anything. Don't judge the form, apply the principle. If I judge the form, I'm going to be running around trying to tell myself that there's some kind of healing I need because of my reactions to things that I've seen with my body's eyes out in the world. An earthquake in Indonesia, 156,000 people died in an earthquake. That's horrific. And I get the results of my thinking about it, which is emotional distress. Right? Yet don't judge the form, apply the principle. There is no world. What I think I see doesn't exist. Now, I need in place of my reaction to it, if I leave that open, if I don't write on that blackboard of my consciousness how I think I should feel about that and just leave it empty, the Holy Spirit can flow in, can show me what the truth is there. It's because of the habit of filling it in, filling in the blank, adjusting to the fear, adjusting to the pain again and again and again. The Holy Spirit sort of sits back and goes, oh, I'm waiting, you know, infinite patience. I'm just waiting for you just to not fill in that blank just for one moment, and I'll show you everything. It's like salvation is in the next thought you don't have. And then the very next thought you're going to have is, how do I not have the next thought? And you miss salvation again. When I close my eyes, it's like there's a transition point in the course, right? There's a transition point in doing those lessons where you transit from the external world, where you're applying the application of the lessons of the daily thing, the principles, to what you think you see around you, the pencil, the cup, the things near and far and all of that. And then you start to close your eyes. Jesus goes, now close your eyes and imagine things inside, imagine your thoughts, and try to realize that they're no different inside from what's going on actually outside, the outside being the symbolic representation of your own thinking, right? Now, there's a place in your mind where you realize that your internal thinking, right, which means you're really not thinking, but your internal thinking is this long, he calls it a long, oddly assorted procession of thoughts going by. Between each one, there's this kind of joining point. It seems to be that they come at such a rapid pace that you're thinking about this and you're thinking about that. Then I've got another thought about something, and then, you know, all day and all into the night and thinking. And your mind's just doing this blah, 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 blah. Right? Between any two thoughts is a gap. Between any two thoughts. If you look at an old movie, right, and I'll use this reference quite a lot, but if you think of the old movies where you have, I think it was 8mm film or whatever the thing, and it's just a strip of negative, and there's a little thin black line between each frame, right? If you play that fast enough, you don't even see the black line. Your mind is completely focused on the imagery and following along with the sequence that distracts you from noticing that little black line. Now, when you practice your mind training and you're doing your meditation, you're learning to slow your thinking down. You're learning not to interact with it, but rather to be the observer of it, to be objective, and just to allow it to go by, right? As you withdraw your interactive desire, I guess, or as you stop interacting with it, it's like the moment you stop listening to your ego, it starts to peter off and get softer and quieter and whatever, or perhaps it gets more vicious at first, but eventually it knows it can't win. Right? And you'll notice that you have these moments in your mind where your thinking is really quiet. If you can focus on the silence, you'll notice there's like a gap between your thoughts. Right? This is really hard to teach this part because this is an internal process. It's not like something I can relate to with words, but there's this kind of gap between your thinking. The little gap, I think Jesus even calls it in the Course, right? So that gap is a portal or an entry to the void, to that emptiness and that terror within you, that tiny moment of terror, where you realize that there's actually nothing there. And you'll feel yourself being drawn in or slipping into that gap. And in there, you'll have an experience of direct light. Now, some of the lessons in the Course, we were talking about this last week, some of the lessons in the Course, I think lesson 16 or whatever, where Jesus talks about the clouds and try to see yourself going up and forwards through the clouds and pushing through the clouds, right? Some people experience it as going forwards and up in their consciousness. When their mind becomes still, when they're really focusing on it, they'll experience it as going forwards and up. I always experience it as sort of like slipping down and back. And I don't know how to really talk about that. There's like a little kadunk, a little sort of like dropping down in my consciousness. And the first time it ever happened, I remember being incredibly thrilled about it. And I went and told one of my teachers, Greta. I said, Greta, I was meditating and I had this little clunk moment, this little badunk, like something like a baby falling over, you know, when they go kadunk and they land on their bum, you know, and they're like boom, and there's like this whole sort of shudder It's like that. In your consciousness, there's actually a movement, right? When that movement occurs, and you may have already recognized it, but when that movement occurs in your consciousness, if through the utilization of the mind training, you don't examine it, right? Because as soon as you examine it, you separate yourself from it. If through the utilization of the mind training, you simply allow it to be where it is, you'll have an experience of light, right? So in the early days, I would sit and meditate for an hour or 2 hours or whatever. It'd take me forever. And then I remember once I had an experience of a flash of light in my consciousness, I'd be like, what was that? I got really excited. What was that? And I wanted to tell everybody I had this flash of light. But of course, anyone that hasn't never had it, you're talking to a brick wall. So, but eventually when I met my teacher, Ted and Greta and those other guys, and they'd be like, well, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to experience light in your mind, what do you think meditation's for? So now, like that, it just occurs instantly, right? Because I'm aware of the place, that little down and back place in my mind, just as if I'm recalling a memory about what I had for breakfast. It's that simple. I had eggs on toast. In my mind, I think about God. And there's an association with it that goes kadunk in my mind, and there's a flash of light. Jesus talks about it in the Course as the lovely flashes. Those experiences, those light experiences, those holy instants which occur through healing moments in relationships, through meditative shifts in consciousness, through divine epiphanies, all sorts of things, they're accumulative as a witness to the truth in you, right? Which is why it's important when you do your mind training that you keep up with it and you have an experience after an experience after an experience. And if you're not having any experience, you're not doing it properly, right? One consciousness is all consciousness. I know for a fact, like the first year I did the workbook lesson, I got to lesson 260 or something, and then I realized something in that lesson that I was doing revealed to me how half-hearted I'd been with doing the lessons. And I made a decision to go back the next year and start again on lesson 1. And I put a lot more integrity and a lot more effort into doing it. And I studied that workbook as if I was cramming for an important exam the next day. Like just everything was about that. I didn't forget to do my lessons. I wrote it on my arm. I wrote it on little bits of paper, and I stuck every day's thing on the fridge and in my bedroom. I wouldn't forget. And things became entirely different in the result of doing my lessons. Things became experiential. But you have to recognize the superficial nature of consciousness at the beginning. Everything's just on the surface. Everything's superficial. Right? It's like when I said to you last week, Tina, about going to Illinois, and you got all flustered and thought you were being unfairly treated, right? Now, that's a good thing, because that takes you to a deeper point in your own psyche, in your own evaluation with yourself, where you have to look at things reasonably and make a whole new set of decisions about what you're really doing here, right? What am I actually doing? Right? All of a sudden, what was once perceived as kind of a superficial, on the surface kind of interest and activity and participation now gets shit real. It's like, holy crap, this is really getting real now. I've actually got to get out of my zone and do something and put myself out and make an effort. Now, that effort doesn't happen in time and space. It happens in the mind. It's a shift in consciousness. It's like, oh, damn, this is affecting me. Whether you go or don't go, it doesn't really matter. It's the yes, or seeing that there's a no, because that yes to going to Illinois or no to going to Illinois is the same yes or no as when Jesus knocks on the door and says, give up the world and follow me. Exactly the same. It's only ever God that asks, because God is everything. You can't get out of this. There's a lot of, and you'll realize there's a lot of preamble. There's a lot of orchestration, the setting up of an event before you can actually finally enter into a moment of true transformation. It takes sometimes months or years of listening and learning and reading and study so that when something actually happens and actually presents you, you can actually hear it. There's a whole preamble to spirituality that for most people looks like an entire lifetime of having an interest in it, an entire lifetime of following one's heart or engaging with groups and people and things to finally bring you to the point of here and now where you can just simply say yes. You know, and actually mean that yes, not just as some kind of stamp collecting kind of hobbyists yes. It's like, I'm going to put my life on the line. I'm going to do whatever it takes here and step into the unknown. Yes. It's terrifying. Somewhere your ego knows exactly what's going to happen. You're going to go to Champaign, Illinois. The guys are going to see you. There's going to be this whole joining connection thing goes on, and you're going to have to let go of the defense to join them in the space they're at, not the space you've brought with you. You know, it's like imagine someone who had a deep love for like a classic. Who's a classic? You know, like a Ramana Maharshi or something. Oh, my friend Brian, right? So my friend Brian, brother Brian, had a really heartfelt devotion to the teachings of the guy with the big hairdo, Sai Baba, and went to India, right, to meet. This is when Sai Baba was the thing. Went to India to meet Sai Baba when he was young, and I remember him telling me a few stories actually, because I had an interest in Sai Baba when I was growing up, like this mystical guy that could do stuff, you know, and he used to make the vibhuti rain out of his hand, the ash, you know, the sacred ash. And I didn't really believe it until it happened to Brent one day. We're doing a light meditation and ash just started falling from the palms of Brent's hands in session one day, just spontaneously. And he sort of freaked out about it. He's like, what the hell? And I'm like, what the hell? But it just, I don't know. And he wasn't even a devotee of Sai Baba. He was just sort of some guy doing this energetic meditation. But Brian had this incredible thing where the anticipation of his yes to Sai Baba finally came face to face with Sai Baba in the living essence of that anticipation. And Brian was beside himself. He didn't know what to do with it. You know, Sai Baba knew that he didn't know what to do with it as well. And he manifested him one of those holy rings. I think I told you the story, didn't I? Yeah. And it sort of distracted him from the moment because Brian was probably about to explode internally. He's such a beautiful guy. If ever I find him on Facebook or anything, I'll tag you in a post of his or something like that. So he's so awesome. I can't remember his partner's name, but there are some people that walk the planet in such gentleness, like such divinity, like they have this sort of presence of gentleness and just, I don't know. Brian was like that to me. He was just a very, very, very gentle soul, and you know, I don't see myself particularly that way. I sort of see myself as a bit more of a bull in a china shop, but everyone plays their part perfectly. Exactly. You got to get a confrontation somewhere, don't you? It's like, where's it? If there's no confrontation, how are you going to find your fear? And this is a journey into fear, right? Let me find my fear. If it was up to me, I'd never find it. I'd say, yes, Jesus, I'm looking for my fear. It's right in front of me. I'd never want to find it. Who the hell wants to find it? We know it's somewhere there and whatever, but it's like, I don't want to remove the blocks to love's presence in me. That sounds ridiculous, preposterous. What does that even mean? I'll just read the Course in Miracles and I'll just skip those parts, that chapter there. I'll just, oh, look, the teacher's manual, you know. Oh, no, I did that for a long time. I did that for a long time. All the beautiful things that Jesus says. You know, the bit that's in iambic pentameter is in blank verse, Shakespearean blank verse. I think it's the section for they have come.
Your poem was too.
Yeah, I know.
Did you know that? I was like reading
Yeah.
it, and I was like, it was iambic pentameter.
Of course it's iambic pentameter. It's from the Spirit.
Wow, no, it's amazing. Well, I mean, spirit isn't always.
No, you write it. You ask the Holy Spirit to scribe you a poem. I guarantee it'll be an iambic.
it was cool. Yeah, I didn't know.
Right. I don't know why that is. It just always is.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a limerick.
Initially, that's what I thought it was. And then I started to read it, and I was counting the pages.
I wrote that one quite a while ago, actually.
Did you?
But yeah,
Cool.
a couple of years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. And it just popped up in my thing again, and I thought, who wrote this? And then I realised it was one that was written through me, or I wrote it. Anyway. It's the place in your heart, Doug. It's the place where you feel. Anna, the place where you feel. It's really important. Like you guys have been doing this for a while now. It's really important to get beyond the words, to get beyond the necessity for the words. Tina, are you doing the last lessons in the workbook? Are you at that point? Or I know you said you were going to.
I am. Yeah, I'm at that point.
All right.
Yeah.
So that moment where we say God is and then we cease to speak.
That's the
Right.
last 5, I think.
That's the last 5. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a silence there, right? So that silence, allow that silence to be engulfing, allow it to be completely present if you can.
Mm-hmm.
You might find you get distracted and you'll have to come back to it again and whatever, that's fine, but just allow it to engulf you because it will. Don't be afraid of it. Simply recognize and notice the fear or whatever and choose to let it go. Oh, there's our Heidi. We've lost Bibiana and we've got a Heidi.
Bibiana's still here. I think her camera's off for a bit.
Is she still here? I can't see her.
Yeah, she's got her camera off, so that's probably why you don't see her.
Probably late where she is.
She's where
And
I
no,
am.
I'm just coughing.
Oh, she's still there. She's coughing.
Yeah, I'm just coughing, so I turned off the camera. But I'm listening. Thank you.
All right. So let's do some breathing and stuff. The release from fear involves those 2 parts, right? The recognition that you're fearful, and the second part is that there's nothing there that you would want to hide, even if you could, right? I probably got that wrong. You'd have to look in the course, but it's like, I want to find my fear. I want to look at it, and I want to offer it up for healing. The only way I know it's there is because I can feel it. I can tell you all sorts of things that might have fearful connotations, but it's pointless because fear is relative. You know what's fearful to you, and I know what's fearful to me. I've actually been going the last couple of weeks. I've been on this website, MyFlixer, where they have horror movies, and I've been looking for scary movies or anything that might activate a trigger. You know, it's like nothing. So, but close your eyes, Bibiana. I'll assume yours are closed. And just take a deep breath. Take a couple of deep breaths, Heidi. Just sort of relax. And try to become aware of how you feel. how you're feeling right now. Is there anything in the background that you're trying to avoid? Is there some issue underlying that you've got to get back to later that's not going to be pleasant? Is there anything going on in your life that may usher in a sense of dread or foreboding or anything like that? Because that's where we want to go. You don't want to avoid this. You don't want to know it's there and not expose it. Okay, close your eyes, take a breath. Feel how it is that you are. Get a sense of yourself, even if it's in the falsity of yourself. Get a sense of yourself. Tina, close your eyes. Get a sense of yourself. Try to feel to the core of your being. You'll only be able to go so far because the conceptual self is an idea of limitation. But we're seeking out the potential. We're seeking our blocks. What am I fearful about? What am I fearful of? Is it death? Is it the letting go of the body because I think it offers me something? Is it fearful of letting go of a defense or admitting that I'm wrong about something? Am I fearful to change? Whatever it is for you, it is for you. Just identify it if you can and stay there with it. Don't adjust to it. Do not adjust to your pain. If there's a grievance, if there's somebody there that upsets you, and you probably already know who it is, but if there's a grievance, just sit there with it. Look at the grievance reasonably. It's like, all right, I need to forgive this because this is preventing me from accessing that place in my mind where salvation is being held out. And I want salvation more than I want the grievance. I want out of this dream more than I want anything the dream can offer me. That's either going to be true or not true. Jesus knocks on the door and says, give up the world and follow me. And it's either a resounding and unequivocal, yes, Lord, or you're going to stop to think about what that means, what that entails, which is only ever fear. Breathe, take a deep breath in through the nose. Out again. Feel. Heidi, feel. Go deep into your heart. Feel it in your heart. Do you feel God's love? Right. If not, why not? Why don't I feel the love of God within me? What is there that I value above that that's preventing me from feeling that? I'm never a victim. There's nothing deliberately preventing me from feeling it. It's something that I've chosen. I want to feel the love of God. I want to feel like a child. I want to feel the joy and the innocence and the warmth of that incredible state of being that is not only carefree, but free. When is the last time I truly felt free? Where I felt I didn't have a worry in the world. Where I felt supported completely encapsulated with love. Try to imagine what that might feel like, to be loved and to be loving. To be loved and to be loving. Try to get a sense of it. Reach inside and find it. It's in you. It's in there somewhere, underneath a whole pile of meaningless nothing that's attempting to justify something other than loved and loving. Jesus says in the Course that man should think of himself as loved and loving, because this is what he is. Now, think of yourself, Heidi, as loved. I love you. I know that for a fact. I also know that you are loving. You have to find that in you. Now, it starts with a little willingness. I'm willing to be loving. I'm willing to see myself as loving. I'm willing to see myself as loved. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to see myself that way. I seem to have this guilt, or I seem to have this self-condemnation, or all these other things that tell me, no, I'm not worthy of love. No, I can't possibly be unconditionally loving to everyone because I've got to maintain this integrity of premise that's a Heidi or a Tyna or a Dave or a Doug, etc. At some point, you just got to say, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm tired of maintaining this nonsense. I want to be loved and I want to be loving. That's how I want to see myself, and that's how I want my world to be. That's actually how it is. Except for the fact you keep projecting out there into the world situations and events to react to that attempt to validate something other than being loving and being loved. See how crazy that is? And you'll be able to prove it to yourself the very next time you react to someone in an unloving way. It's like, oh, I chose that. I actually chose to flip the bird, or to tell someone to get lost, or to be upset. I chose that. I chose rejection and separation rather than unity and wholeness. And you get to see where it is you choose it again and again and again. Don't beat yourself up. Don't judge yourself for seeing where it is that you're choosing wrongly. Simply make the correction. Oh, you're not guilty of anything. It's just a dream. This is a platform where you are learning to choose better. Choose again, Holy Son. Choose again. I'm choosing for love, to be loved and to be loving. Now, I'm not going to allow the form, the person, the situation, or the event to tell me how it is I think love ought to be for me, how I should receive it or how I should give it. I'm simply going to be open to it as it comes and as it is requested. That might bring up a lot of fear. If it does, that's good. That's where we want to be. I want to look at my fear so I can release it, because I'm tired of living in fear and justifying my defenses in order to maintain a limited sense of self and a limited experience of love's awareness within me. I'm done with that. I want the whole thing. I want to love like Jesus loves. I want to love all my brothers. I want to be loved like Jesus is loved. Free love, unconditional love. That's me. Now, the point where that's you and the point where you find yourself now might seem to be very far apart in your own awareness. But remember, the miracle collapses time. You are not without the prayer of the heart for the healing of the mind that believes it is separate from God. Feel it. How much do you want to be loved and loving? Feel. Heidi, go there. Go to that place. Feel it where you want it more than anything. I'm done with feeling empty. I'm done with feeling a slave to myself. I'm done with feeling like I don't fit in. I'm done with feeling nothing like a lifeless husk. I want to be filled up. I want to be filled up with love so much that I overflow and drip into the streets. People slip over in my love. And vice versa. I want my world to reflect it back to me. You got to push and feel it. Heidi, push. Tina, push. How much do you want to feel love? How much? Lord, I want to feel it. I want to feel the presence of God in me. I want to feel the stirring of God's strength within. Woohoo! 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 That's where I want to feel it. Woohoo! I want to be lifted up. I want to walk down the street in total joy. Woohoo! Yes, breathe. Feel it inside of you, how much you want it. Go deeper, deeper. Push, Robert, push. Let it be painful if it needs to be painful. Push through it. It's just a barrier. It's a threshold. I want to feel that love. I want to give it away. I want to give my love away to everyone and everything. I don't care if they look at me funny or roll their eyes. I want to give my love away just wherever, to whoever will accept it. If they don't want to accept it, I'll dust off my sandals and I'll move on. I'm here to love and I'm here to be loved. I'm here to give and I'm here to forgive. I'm here to represent God. And even if I get it wrong, I'm going to pick myself up and dust myself off. And I'm going to try again and again and again. And I'm going to push and push and push into the feeling. Life is a vibration. Life is a feeling. Life is a joy. It's not in my head with my thoughts about it. It's in my heart where I feel with it. I've got to feel it. I've got to embody it. I've got to say yes to it. Because it's what I am anyway. Push, Anna, push. Sometimes you've got to say, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm letting go of this crap. I want to go back to love. I'm back to love. Heidi, I'm back to love. New moment, brand new moment. Woo-hoo. Yes, Tina, good. Push. That's good. Cough it up. It's like a giant cosmic fur ball. Good. Push. You gotta vomit in the fuck it bucket. That's where. It's like, fuck it. What do I care what people think of me? I'm tired of determining who I am and what I am by external validation. That doesn't work. God is my validation. God is my source. I cannot see apart from him. I can see only what God wants me to see. I cannot see anything else, no matter how much I think I can. Anything else other than that is only ever going to be an illusion. It's only going to leave me feeling empty. This is where I have to choose. I choose for love. Heidi, stand up. Make a declaration. Oh, can't see you now, but anyway. You're making a declaration. You're standing up and you're making a declaration. I choose for love. Let it be passionate. Feel it inside. I choose for love. You've got to like hold yourself to account. You've got to like take a grip on your mind and be like, no, this is not okay. I'm choosing for love. I'm here to represent God. Not just sometimes when I'm in a Zoom meeting, not just sometimes when I'm reading my workbook lessons, but when I'm out there in my relationships and in my job and in my street, at the petrol station, filling up my car, in the supermarket, paying for my groceries.
Every time the grocery attendant says to me, "Hi, how you going? How's your day?" That same old routine, mundane, monotonous voice. Every time I get in the taxi and I want to ask the taxi driver, "So, how long you been doing this?" As if it's something they've never heard before. It's like, fuck all that. Pattern responses. I'm done with all that. I want something else in my life that's not of my own construction, not of my own doing. I don't know how to do that, but I can choose for love. And you'll be surprised what comes out. You'll be surprised what you get back. It's just that courage to take the first step. Heidi, it's the courage to take that first step and say, fuck it. I'm going to walk up to that supermarket attendant and I'm going to look them straight in the eye and go, "Man, I bet everybody asks you, how's your day?" And it's like, I'm just going to ask you, have you been getting any? Would you like to come fishing on the weekend? I'm going to put myself out. I'm going to break with the status quo here. I'm going to shatter the illusion, shatter the mainstream, shatter the bloody pattern responses. I'm done with the old cyclical way of thinking, and whatever it takes, I'm going to break through it. Something else is going to happen, and I'm going to let myself be guided. Breathe. Heidi, put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air. Feel the presence of God within you. Call it down to you. Father, here I am. I want to feel your presence in my heart, in my body, in my legs, in my arms, in my face, in my back, everywhere. I want to feel it tingling and erupting. I want to feel the movement, the presence. I am a passionate being. I am capable of loving, and I am allowing myself to be loved. Firstly, by myself. I'm saying fuck it to anything else. I just want love. Breathe and feel. Breathe and feel. Feel how it is that you are. You are worthy. You are a child of God. God only knows you as his creation. That's his judgment upon you. Here is my sinless son in whom I am well pleased. In whom I am well pleased. That's the truth of you. Accept it. God loves you. Accept it. God loves me. I'm a child of God and God loves me unequivocally, unconditionally. God loves me. It doesn't matter all my guilt I feel, all the things I think I've done wrong. I'm free to accept God's love. What's the point of telling myself I'm not worthy over and over? I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I don't feel true. I don't feel that that's true in me. Who cares what you feel? You don't even know what the meaning of the life is. The meaning of the world is nothing. Everything you think you feel is based on a lie. You're free. Heidi, you're free. Feel it. Get a sense of it. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. Nikola Tesla's plugging you in. Feel. I feel empty, or I feel fulfilled, or I feel something. Just feel something. Don't decide what it is. Good, Bibiana, good. I feel uncertain, maybe. I feel whatever. Just feel. Don't try to ascribe any description or meaning to the feeling. Just feel. Can you feel something, Robert? You feel a sense of something within you. Heidi, do you feel a sense of something within you? Bibiana, do you feel a sense of something within you? Doug? Yep. Tina, do you feel a sense of something within you? Yes. Anna, do you feel a sense of something within you? Stay there. Stay there in feeling that sense of something within you. If God is everything, the something that you are feeling is the stirring of God in you. Your ego's always going to try to tell you it's something else. Don't listen to that voice. That's what the mind training's for. Stay in the feeling. I feel this thing. I feel this something. I want to call it something. There's this anxiety in me to want to locate it and call it a thing. What am I feeling here? Just sit in it. Just sit in the pure essence of what it is that you feel within yourself. Yes. It's life. Now let it grow. Go deeper and deeper. Try to sink into it. Breathe. Breathe. As you breathe, you feel. As you feel, you breathe. Take a deep breath. Feel something. What do I feel inside? I feel, ooh. Push. Reach out with your feelings like a Jedi. Reach out. Push. Push into it. Push with your consciousness. Push with your mind. Feel a tingling, an awareness, a sense, something. It's not of your five senses. It's not hear, see, smell, touch, or taste. It's internal. Woohoo! Yes, Anna, good. Doug, good. Good. Yes. Feel. Just sit there and enjoy that feeling. Connect with it. Try to connect with it as deeply as you can. If you lose sight of it, don't worry. Relax. It'll come back. Try to get a sense of it again and again and again. What is this feeling that I'm feeling here? If you call it something, that doesn't matter. Just make a decision. No, I'll let go from that calling it anything. I just want to feel what it is, this sense of presence within me, this sense of myself. Maybe I'm feeling my body, how it feels to be in a body. Maybe I'm feeling anxiety. Maybe I'm feeling all these other things. But just try to stay in the pure feeling. Be the observer of the state. The observer of the state of being. Breathe. Ah! Ah! Yes. Breathe and let go. Let go, let go. Let yourself fall into it. Fall into that feeling. Sit there and be still. Be still. Let that feeling well up in you. Let it call to you. Jesus talks about it in the Course as a tiny feeling, a tiny remembrance. You feel like something's not right in the world. You feel there's something here that you're here to do. You feel that there's something within you that you should be doing, that you should be paying attention to. Just pay attention to it. It'll do the rest. Just abide with it. The inner presence, inner feeling, and inner sense. The spirit of wholeness, the Holy Spirit. Here I am, Father. Here I am, Lord. Speak to me through this feeling. Speak to me through this sense. Direct me. Use me. Guide my thoughts and my actions. Thereby bring me to a closer awareness of the presence that you are within. Feel. The outside world will be there when you open your eyes, and it will still continue to represent the distraction. But you should take your rest every day. Fall back into a sense of self, into a sense of feeling. Try to be grateful. Thank you, Father. Thank you for this sense of self, this feeling inside of me. Everything feels peaceful. Focus, body. Focus. An untrained mind accomplishes nothing. A partly trained mind accomplishes nothing. The object of all training is to reach the goal. The goal of our course is inner peace. Try to get a sense of it. Yes, that's better. Yes. Good, 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 good. Good. Now nurture that every day. The goal of our course is inner peace. We've got the work to do. We've got the forgiveness. We've got all this stuff that goes on that helps us to fall deeper into that sense of peace. But we actually have to take the time every day to sit and allow ourselves to experience it. It's almost impossible, even for an awakened mind, to stay in this state all the time. The presence of the world is too strong. It presses on the consciousness day after day, minute after minute. But we take our rest, we fall back into a meditative posture, into a sense of our inner kingdom, our inner domain. And we try to abide with it there. We feel, and we let it guide us. We let it draw us to where it's calling, where God's voice calls us to remember. Breathe. Yes. Good. All right, that's it for today. If you want to stay and sit peacefully, quietly, don't try to force it. Just be true to yourself, and if a few minutes is all you can manage, so be it. But eventually you'll find that you're able to sit more quietly and more peacefully, and to sink deeper into how you feel within yourself to a greater extent for longer periods of time. By the time you get to those last lessons, Tyna, and you say God is, and then you cease to speak, you enter into that silence, into that stillness within, where you're simply in a state of beingness, a state of is or I am. And you feel that it's a whole presence. You just stay there and let it do what it needs to do. You're being called teacher of God. Teacher of God. Listen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Father. Mm. Mm. Good to see you again.
It's wonderful to see you.
Mm.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We hope to see you soon.
All right.
In my heart, nonetheless. So. Love you,
Much
brother.
love. Much love.
God bless you.